So it's currently 12:20 a.m. on the dot. It's been a pretty eventful day. I don't know how good the audio is gonna be because my mic died. It's charging right here. But I started the day pretty early, 6:30, and I hit the gym right after I dropped off my girl. Went to a nearby gym around there to get it out the way. Wasn't the best workout, but at least I got it done. And went home, and for the rest of the day I kind of spent it on my cardio treadmill at home, just studying while taking notes while doing cardio, and on top of that just sitting down here working at my desk on business and content ideas. And I've been recently thinking deeply about where I've came from, and a common theme that I see with so many people, including myself, is just about how much I think differently when I'm with certain people compared to others. And I'll explain what that means. Like, about a year or two ago, I used to live in Texas with another part of my family on my dad's side, which was a huge growth experience. That's when I actually got out of my comfort zone. That's when I actually started being more social, having to meet new people in the new workplace that I was working at, which was evidently what I talk about on Instagram a lot, about being at the warehouse, working very long hours. That's probably the most I've ever lost sleep, because I had to work these long shifts whenever it was peak season of business. And initially going into it, like, the way that I would speak towards people that are way farther ahead of me, nobody in the workplace was my age, not a single person. Everybody was older than me, and I was the young guy in the group, which, to be honest, I feel like I was pretty solid, right? I wanted to pursue business, but I didn't have any business experience, nor did I even know what I wanted to do. So going in there, the only thing that I had really was my fitness and my TikTok page that I've grown to like 100,000 followers, but that meant absolutely nothing, right? The way that I would speak with them was very passive, was very submissive, and I would never think highly of myself at all, because I was the small fish in the pond here, right? Except to my siblings at home, my brother, my sister maybe, which, regardless of their age, whether they're older or younger, I would talk with a little bit of arrogance to it, not in a demeaning way, not in a way that would hurt their feelings purposefully, but I would catch myself being way more, confident. And not even just with them, with my small circle of friends that I have, that I know aren't really a higher level in life that much. The gap isn't that big compared to these 30 to 40-year-old guys that have already had their actual businesses, and they use the warehouse to make their products, and they know so much more than I do. And I understand that I'm the smaller fish in this pond. Like, the way that I would speak with them was actually different, and I don't think that's something right to do, because this reminded me of back when I used to be skinnier. I never knew the gym. Now I'm actually a fitness coach, and I actually train, and I feel like I'm pretty content with the way that I am fitness wise. But before that, before any of that self-improvement, all the way at rock bottom, watching Netflix all the time, playing video games, scrawny physique, ate like garbage, and was addicted to lust as a man, I would be exactly like this. Because at school, when I didn't really know much people, right, I was still that antisocial kid. Couldn't even carry a conversation without it ending up being awkward. I didn't know how to end conversations, nor did I know how to flow with one, right? It would be quick, short things. Hi, how are you doing? Good. Okay, great. I never really made any new friends, but the friends that I would have would always be below me, and I wouldn't know why. I would treat them so terribly compared to people who I didn't know, and how shy I was around people who were way more successful than I was, right? Because to one group, I was the passive type, and they would think that I'm a quiet kid, but to another group, I was way more confident, maybe a little bit too confident towards the point where it was arrogant and maybe too like egotistical in a way, because you know that's just the type of person that I was, and I didn't know why. Only when I realized that the only reason for me having that confidence was because I had no intrinsic value in myself, of like, no, I don't have any wisdom to give. I don't have any physical achievements. I have no charisma like these other kids did at school, right? I was never the popular guy, but the popular ones actually knew how to talk, make jokes, and flow with conversations, really good with communication. But for me, I didn't have any of that. And I thought, wow, I'm not the type of person who deserves that. And I idolized it so much, so that everybody else that was below that, that I felt like was around my level, I got to, boss around, be almost too direct. I'm talking very arrogant. And this is what actually led to me, fighting my friends, right? Before, I grew up where slap boxing was a thing. Boxing your friends was a thing. This was just something that us as kids did, 14, 16 years old. And I felt like it was such an arrogant thing to do, and just to prove to ourselves that we were like stronger or something. But overall, this was such a negative way to have relationships, and it grew to be unsustainable anyway, right? But overall, like, it would make it so that I would mistreat anybody that was below me. And honestly, this going even deeper made it so that I was a pretty bad brother to my younger one. Super hard for me to speak about, but like, I would always just be judgmental in a negative way, not even a way that would, build and help. I was always trying to avoid being with people, being with him, being with people who were lesser than me, for face value, given face value, they were lesser than me. They weren't as strong as me, or they weren't as fast as me, or they just weren't as, I don't know, had as much status. Like, this is how crazy it was, even at a young age, how it would be, right? If you didn't have that much status, then you weren't really taken seriously. And if anything, you were picked on. And that's the type of person that I was, even though surface level, if you met me and I didn't know you, you would think, damn, this guy is super shy and passive. But deep down, I was a spiteful motherfucker. And that was mainly just because I had no intrinsic value, right? I felt like every little chance that I would have to be in control, I would take extreme advantage of that. And this only damaged the people who I would do this to. Yet, when I was faced with people who were actually ahead of me, who I actually idolized or thought had more than I did, more status, more of a physique, more charisma, then I couldn't touch them, right? And honestly, this made me just this nasty person that I didn't like, negative. And it really shows the value that I have towards myself. And being this type of person never gets you anywhere, because you're putting down others that are smaller than you just because you can. And This is where control freaks come from. The people who are very entitled, the people think that, oh, in my head, I have more status than you. That means I get to do this. That means I get to mistreat you. But this gets you nowhere. This loses you opportunities. If anything, you are losing yourself opportunities if you're this type of person. I'm glad that I'm not this person anymore. I treat anybody, whether they're high status or low, the same way, and I truly push to try to be like this. Sometimes I slip up, but most of the time I'm more of a patient, stoic person, and I am proud of that, right? I'm way calmer than I was before. Maybe you might not think that I'm as calm as I am, but the journey of which where I came from versus now, whenever I see somebody who is lesser or more than me, it doesn't matter. I treat them the same, and I can shake their hand and look them in the eye and see them the exact same way, another human being on this earth. And so every single time, if you're like this person, you lose yourself opportunity because you expect for people with lower status, who's in a worse life position than you, to not have as much wisdom for you to learn from. Except you can always learn from anybody. If you are somebody who thinks that you know everything, then you have learned nothing, and you're never going to sustainably keep what you have. If you think that you have everything, then you have absolutely nothing. And you actually don't understand the concept of life. You should attack life as a student. If you are an ambitious man or an ambitious person, right? Let's not put a gender on it, but you have this, very significant goal that you're trying to achieve, whether that's physically, whether that's financially, whether that's relationally. You genuinely want to build your future, and you know that you were meant for so much more, then you are shooting yourself in the foot every single time that you don't think that you are a student to the game, when you think you've mastered it already and you have nothing else to learn. Because once you reach that point, then you will learn absolutely nothing. Then you'll never grow anymore. You only keep growing if you keep learning, and you can't learn if you aren't a student. Yet you expect to be the teacher when you haven't even truly gotten to where you actually wanted to go, if that makes sense. When you think this way, or you think lesser of somebody just because, maybe they are like a fan to you, maybe they idolize you, except they're like a little bit annoying about it, or maybe they're just not in as good of a position, so you think you can boss them around, or you have control and you can take advantage of them and think you can't learn anything from them because you're better. That puts you on your high horse, and that only makes you arrogant. And being arrogant is one of the biggest things that have people lose all of what they've built. You can ask any person with a successful business, making maybe 6 figures a month even, being arrogant and thinking you're above the work, you're above your employees, your team, you're above your customers and clients, that only makes you insufferable to be around, and nobody likes you. I mean, people don't like you, then that's not that bad, right? You shouldn't always want people to like you. Like, let's not get into it that deeply, right? Nobody's going to want to be around you, even the people you want for you to be around, because you are just so arrogant, right? You think that you're actually better than you are. And this makes it so that even the people you do idolize think that you're just a piece of shit. They think that you're weird. They think that you actually don't know nothing, because the people who are farther ahead in life than you understand that they need to be a student to the game no matter where they are in life, whether they have the $1 million mansion, the $1 million car, the best physique online and at the time or not. If they have a loyal and they've built this loyal family, they're never going to be on their high horse, because that hinders them from learning and growing. So understanding this, why would you be like that yourself? Why would you try to do this yourself? It's because every little control that you can get, you're always going to take it and you're going to juice the fuck out of it. And that's because you don't have anything going for you yourself. You're not the man you want to be. And instead of working on the inputs and putting your energy into the work, you fucking go to trying to take control of your life by, controlling others and being a control freak, being bossy, and you're just being a dick, right? It's just disguising you from what you actually have to do. And that's why you're in the same fucking spot that you're in. If you don't have the good physique that you want, maybe you're too arrogant to learn from somebody else who is in a higher position than you, or somebody who's been doing it for longer, right? Maybe they don't exactly have your exact goal, but you're not willing to learn, and that's what's going to stop you. Because the information that that person might have that isn't exactly at where you want to be, but is more experienced than you, if you aren't willing to listen to that, then you're not really going to learn as much as you actually can and get closer to your goal than you actually can. If for business, you don't want to learn from somebody who's farther ahead of you just because they don't have the life you want, I mean, that's your choice. But to be arrogant about it and to be this dick about it, that doesn't serve you in any way. If anything, people will see that and think you're just a weirdo, right? They're not going to actually mess with you if you do that. So understanding this, stray away from being like this. Focus on the inputs and bringing value to your life so you don't have to be this emotional ass creature. And once you as a being is backed up by immense amounts of sacrifice and work that you've been putting in to build yourself towards these significant goals that I've listed, then you can look into the face of any person, whether their life position is good or bad, and shake their hand with the same confidence that you would have no matter who they are, because you as a person has been mastered. You as a being don't derive value from the vanity, the things surface level of being higher status or lower status or whatever status, right? Because you've mastered yourself, and that's all that matters. You that's watching right now, if you derive your value from anything other than your personal development, your life will crumble, and you will see that it affects everybody else in your life in a negative way. But to switch that around, if all you do is continue to put in the inputs towards a higher purpose and you continuously sacrifice for that goal, then you're always going to be abundant in this confidence that you've been able to grow, not because you have the achievement of the physique, of the money, the car, the women. It's because you put in the work to get there. And in the process of being a person who takes action, you've already had that confidence. So remembering this will never leave you astray. Remembering this will never make it so that you hurt anybody that's lower than you, right? Because we're all humans at the end of the day, right? You should never get too high in the highs and be too arrogant for anybody. And you shouldn't be this passive guy just because this person has what you want. They have the car, they have all this shit. It's cool to be, a fanboy to somebody that you actually idolize. But it gets to a point, bro. And you have to have enough self-respect to understand that. All right? But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys actually found value from this. And if you are serious about transforming yourself physically through changing your mind, then reach out to me. You can text me on Instagram. I answer all DMs because I know who are the ones who's actually serious. And yeah, I'd want to, if you are actually going to reach out, I hope you speak to me with some real ass shit. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.